The old graveyard is Carmi's oldest cemetery, and in it rest some of the most notable founders and citizens of our town. In 1817, ground was provided by James Ratcliffe for the purpose of burial. The edge of this farmland was likely not suitable for agriculture use, as it was near the bank of the Wabash River and often flooded when the river waters were high. Several decades later, Edwin B. Webb would donate adjacent land upon his death in 1858, expanding the cemetery to 8 acres in total. Per his will, this land was to be taken care of by the county and used as a graveyard for the quote, inhabitants of Carmi and its vicinity of every age, sex, and condition. The graveyard was widely used in the 1800s, and it was reported in 1915 that no one had ever been denied burial until there was simply no more room. As was common in early public cemeteries, the old graveyard had the atmosphere of a park with many visitors and flowers adoring the growing number of graves. Both concrete and iron boundaries can be found enclosing family plots. One characteristic common to old cemeteries is the number of markers for young children. Many children rest with these family plots, as it was common for families to lose children in those days. Originally, the graveyard was cared for by the county per Edwin Webb's will, but in 1870, the local government structure was reorganized through a new Illinois Constitution, at which time the cemetery was further maintained only by volunteer work and private donations. Over the next several decades, the land became overgrown and neglected. Despite this, by the early 1900s, local community members were still very protective of the space, and it was even noted in the local paper that citizens would be ready to fight if the graveyard was, quote, injured in any way. In 1966, Carmi's own Miss Mary Jane Stewart was the final citizen to be laid to rest in this historical place. Miss Mary Jane was an active member of the Daughters of the American Revolution organization, and she spent much of her life helping to promote the history of our town and county, well before the Historical Society was even organized. Miss Mary Jane's lineage includes several founding members of Carmi, so it is fitting that she rest with those she worked so hard to help us remember. Today, this historical site is open for the public to explore as they wish. In recent years, various groups have initiated volunteer projects to maintain the area and make it easier for families and visitors to explore their graves. The old graveyard is a beautiful yet solemn reminder of times past, how special it is that those who helped settle and build our town have been laid to rest in what is still the heart of town. Local genealogist Shirlene Shield said it best in a 2002 article from the Carmi Times.
As I've read the names and ages of people unknown to me, I would often conjure up thoughts of how they once lived and loved, laughed and danced, worried about paying bills and putting food on the table, grieved over family problems, and finally, suffered the separation from family and friends and the pain of dying. Life here on the Illinois prairie must have been incredibly hard for many of them, yet they enjoyed life, just as you and I today.